So if you've tuned into any podcasts of mine in the past, you'll know that this one's a little bit different. As you can tell by the title, we're going to be talking about Sam Mills today. Local kid to me, born in Neptune City. He went to high school in Long Branch, which actually the high school I went to, they're rivals, Long Branch Wave and Red Bank Regional Bucks. Went to Montclair State, which is a little bit up north in Jersey. Ended up in the USFL, over to the Saints, over to the Panthers, into coaching. A 5'9" linebacker in the NFL, which typically doesn't add up. But I've got a little list of some of the things that he accomplished in his career. And again, it's not something I was going to memorize because it's a lot. It's the kind of stuff that lands you in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Late for sure, but lands you in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. 2-time D3 All-American. 3-time All-USFL, a 2-time USFL champ. He was on the USFL all-time team, 5-time Pro Bowler. 5-time Pro Bowler, 3 times All-Pro, Saints Hall of Famer, Saints Ring of Honor, Panthers Hall of Honor. The Panthers retired his number 51, built a statue of him outside their stadium. Obviously, like I mentioned before, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Both as a player, excelled as a coach as well, esteemed member of the Dome Patrol linebacking corps, my personal favorite player all time, and Jim Mora once said he was the greatest player he ever coached. This is a guy that also coached a guy by the name of Peyton Manning. So tons of accolades for Sam Mills. Again, lands you in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Obviously, because Sam Mills is no longer with us, that's not something that I can just bounce questions back and forth off of him. So what I decided to do for this one, make it a little bit different, is to reach out to some of the former players of the NFL, both players that played with him and against him, just to kind of see who they saw Sam Mills as, what kind of guy, what kind of player, what kind of influence he had on their lives. Really interesting stuff came out of a lot of guys here. And what I decided to do is, the order of the players that I spoke to goes from the guys that played the least amount of seasons with Sam Mills in the NFL to the most amount of seasons. So before we jump into it, don't forget to subscribe. In any event, our first player is a player that played exactly 0 seasons alongside Sam Mills. He was an opponent, but he did share something in common with Sam. First guy up, Merrill Hodge.
Well, let me tell you, Sam and I went over. We went over to Europe on a couple trips for the NFL, and that's where I got to know him. I'd already played against Sam, and playing against him and then meeting him was completely the contrary. He's a very soft-spoken, mild-mannered, respectful, genuine guy. But he's fierce on a football field. He's like a load of dynamite. I remember we got ready to play them, and in fact, it ended up being, this is where I ended up getting the term a fist fight at the 50. It was like, I think we just stayed at the 50-yard line and went back and forth, toe-to-toe, when we went there to play him. And just, he's one of those players, and everybody has to have some level of intellect to play in the NFL for a long period of time. If you don't have some intelligence and work at your craft and are smart at your craft, you just get exposed. And that level is just too complicated. It's too sophisticated. He was a student of the game, but he was a ball of dynamite when he hit, man. And then he replayed the game the way it's supposed to be played, the right way, with techniques that he played in. I used his feet, hips, and hands. Everybody always talks about his size. Quite honestly, people forget the NFL is not like the NBA. We're not trying to play up around the rim. Okay, we want to play below the rim. We want to play with leverage. It ain't about, in fact, guys that know how to play the game, I think, that aren't that are his size and play with great leverage. Shit, size is irrelevant if you play with great leverage and technique. especially at his position, and you're smart as he was. But I just, as a person, though, I genuinely got to know him, and that's what, you know, where we really connected. He just started really moved by the kind of person he was, and we connected on a lot of things, had great conversations, and, you know, I remember when he got diagnosed, I remember I was driving to NFL Films to do a show, and I'd heard, and I hadn't talked to him in a couple of years, and the one thing, when I was diagnosed, I just remember, I remember people always saying, "Ah, man, I'm sorry I didn't call, I just didn't know what to say," and I remember, I can't remember who it was telling me that, and, or take that back, I didn't know what to say either. Like, this is what happened, okay, this is when Sam gets diagnosed, and I remember all those people saying that to me, and it kind of struck me. I'm like, you know what, you don't have to know what to say. You know, just knowing that you're thinking of somebody, and call them up and say, listen, I don't know what to say, I just know I'm thinking of it. I mean, those things matter to me. And so I called him up, and I just told him, I go, Sam, I really don't have words. I just know, I know what kind of person you are. I know how you'll take it on. And I'm here if you need anything. I don't expect you to follow up because you got a battle, and I'll be the one checking in. And I just remember he started crying. You know, and he told me how much he appreciated it. And I just remember how grateful I was I made that call versus hoping I'd make that call, or wishing I should have made that call, and then never making that call.
All right, so our next guy up actually played 2 seasons with Sam Mills. It's the big man, Willie Roaf.
Sam Mills was the nicest guy. Him, I'll tell you 2 guys. One guy I played with was Sam. The other guy is DeMonte Dawson. Sam Mills was the nicest guy you want to play with, was the leader of our team. I don't understand why we let him go to Carolina. And then he was the oldest linebacker to make All-Pro. Me and him lived around the corner, had a great relationship. I remember one time in practice, I went to hit Sam, and if you didn't get low, he was going to be up underneath you. And I got low, and I hit Sam, and he cracked, he bit the bar on my helmet on the front. He hit me so hard, he bit the bar on my helmet, you know, to let me know, you know. And Sam brought it. Sam was a class act. And, you know, it's funny how a lot of them linebackers get Hodgkin's lymphoma. Mark Fields, I played with, got that Hodgkin's lymphoma. A lot of linebackers, safeties, those guys get that Hodgkin's lymphoma. But, you know, when he passed, I'm so happy they put that statue of him outside of the Panthers facility, outside of their stadium. Because Sam was, he should have never left the New Orleans Saints organization. When Jim Moore got him in the USFL and he got a chance to make it to the NFL, Sam is more, you know, another guy I feel like when you talk about Hall of Fame deserves. I'm just talking about guys that are unsung heroes to me, right, that don't get the credit, if you want to say, with fullbacks. But Sam's another guy that deserves to be in the Hall for everything he did, especially where he came from. Was it Montclair State?
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
Montclair State. Yeah. Sam, I remember going to his house. He had a house in Kenner. He was married and his kids, and I went over there to see him, and we just sat down and talked about life. And he said, "Willie, how you doing?" And you know, he was a man of God, and you know, he just talked to me about living the right way and doing things the right way. And you know, I needed to hear that because you know, just learning how to do things the right way. You need to hear those words of wisdom along the way. Obviously, my dad stayed on me a lot, but Sam was always a man of God. Like I look at Sam and Reggie White, similar guys. Everybody respected them. Right. There's not one guy, Reggie or Sam walked in and people gonna listen to them talk. Aeneas Williams, another guy. Those guys are guys that just the way they carry themselves, you have to respect them.
Another guy that played 2 seasons with Sam Mills was Ninth Ward himself, Tyrone Hughes.
Well, to me, from what I knew, the little time that I knew of him, a great guy, great teammate. was one of the guys who was willing to help out the younger guys to learn. But not only that, he worked hard, film study, on the field. To say he was a veteran guy and some of the things that he did, really made you appreciate him, but also made you appreciate how much he appreciated the game, and what it took to, what it takes, what it took at the time, to be a professional. I mean, one of the things that made me successful was that he was, they used to always hear coaches say, they would they'd like to have their starters, especially in college. I know Coach Osborne loved to do that, to have his starters even to play special teams, and once I got to the pros, I didn't think that was the case. But obviously with a 53-man roster, some of those guys and a lot of the defensive guys obviously have to play the majority of special teams. And Sam Mills was the center on the kickoff return. He was on the front line, and he was the reason why I scored a couple of touchdowns, my punt returns and on kickoff return. My rookie year. Just that he used to call me Ninth Ward. And I think I kind of it wasn't nothing negative, but just the fact that I was from the lower Ninth Ward. Him and Gene Atkins used to call me Ninth Ward. But I think I earned their respect, as a rookie, by being able to do the punt and kickoff returns as well as I did. And so he would always say, hey, Ninth Ward, keep doing what you're doing, keep working hard, and anytime if I needed to know something, I could always go to him and ask him, hey, Sam, what did you see, in this here? Because, again, I was drafted as a defensive back coming out of college, not really, and had been a receiver the majority of my life, except for maybe 5 games at Nebraska as a defensive back. And so the Saints drafted me as a defensive back, but you could always go to him. He was always approachable and willing to help.
Now we're starting to get into guys that spent a little bit more time with Sam Mills. We're up to 4 seasons now. Our first guy with 4 seasons, John Forcade.
You know what I'm going to tell you? Sam Mills, to me, he's got heart and soul. He's a gentleman. Just well-respected. Business first, pleasure second. The guy was all about playing the game of football. Never let his height, his weight, or whatever interfere. Sam was a class act, a gentleman to be around. And I'm not just saying this because he's deceased and all that like normal people would say. I'm saying this because I witnessed it for 5 years. The guy, in my books, was a class act. On and off the field, you couldn't tell that Sam Mills on the field and off the field. He treated you, not just a former player, but he treated people with the kindness and the respect that, people deserve to be treated. Let me tell you, Sam Mills didn't get in major stories. You'd have to ask his wife or his kids back in the day to dig up stuff. There's nothing that made me story-wise. I mean, he wasn't that. He was a workaholic guy. He came to work every day, brought his pail bucket, his lunch bucket, whatever you want to call it. And he went home after, he laughed and joked. I mean, he had that split gap tooth that everybody, you look at him all the time. Sam was just a great guy to be around. I don't think there's anything that you can say about him off the field or on the field that stood out, except that mighty mouse, whatever you want to call him. He was just a great guy and super frat.
Another guy that spent 4 seasons with Sam Mills, wide receiver Quinn Early.
Yeah, so one of the things that really stood out for me about Sam was the fact that he was the hardest working guy that I knew. He worked hard in practice. He didn't take any crap from anybody. He had this amazing work ethic. But the biggest thing about Sam was what an amazing and sweet man he was. He would make it a point to sit down, ask you how you were doing, talk about, your life and your achievements, and he honestly cared about
his teammates as people, not just as football players.
Gotcha.
As far as the football story, I remember we were playing a game, and Sam didn't necessarily play special teams, or he didn't. Or let me modify that. He didn't. He wasn't on the kickoff team. But something happened. I guess somebody got hurt and went down. Now, keep in mind, now Sam is at this point in his career, he's a Pro Bowl. Been at the Pro Bowl a few times. He's part of the Dome Patrol. He's this guy. He's the guy.
He's Sam Mills.
And the special teams coach yelled out, "I need one." And sometimes these star players, they're not going to be the first ones to run out on the field. But Sam was sitting on the bench, and the coach needed one. He was the first one to grab his helmet, threw his helmet on, jumped on the field, didn't even play on kickoff team, ran down there and made this amazing hit. I think he might have made the guy fumble and made this play. And I remember just seeing him grab his helmet, run on the field, run down, and make the play. And he's not even on that special team.
Wow.
And that's how and I've heard stories from other people that, I could talk to you about them probably for an hour, but that was just an example of what Sam brought to the table as a teammate.
We have a third guy that spent 4 seasons with Sam Mills. We also got to speak to Brad Edelman.
Well, first of all, I'll end up saying a lot of what the other guy said. That he was an ideal teammate. If you had to use someone to define teammate, Sam Mills would come to mind. Primarily because he was loyal, he led by his actions, and he was very well respected for that. And I had to practice against him most every day. And although we didn't go full speed, Sam never half-assed at any time ever. I don't think ever in his career, even in practice. But even though we weren't going full speed, we hit pretty well. And Sam had a great leverage because of his size and because of his physique, low center of gravity. So for a smaller player, you'd say shorter, he certainly packed a punch, man. He just had a low center of gravity, and he could get up underneath you and then very quick. So he'd pop you and move. And so he was, ideal teammate, a guy you get in a foxhole with, if you want to use one of those kind of expressions, but a trusted ally on the field, and a genuinely unpretentious, good-natured human being off the field.
All right, so now we're up to 7 seasons. 7 seasons spent alongside Sam Mills, another big man, Stan Brock.
Sam Mills was, probably, without really sitting down and looking at everybody that Coach Moore brought in, that was probably the game changer. That was the guy, and not because he was a great football player, which he was a great football player, but because of his attitude and his demeanor and the way that he went about the game. He brought a lot to a lot of us who thought we knew better, who thought we were maybe a little bit better than what we were. Sam brought that attitude and that character, that quiet, doing his work all the time, and just his relentless ability to play football was crazy. I'm going to tell you a story, and you can use it, not use it, throw it away, or whatever. But when they first got there, so that was Coach Moore's first year, right? So we're all, I think, what year was Moore's first year? Was that 86?
I think, yeah.
86. So whatever year it was, I was in my 7th year, right? And I got, by the time you're a 7-year veteran in the National Football League, you have all the answers, and you think you have all the answers, and so. We're sitting there in the first dinner, and we can see, our new head coach. We've never really talked to this guy before. He's kind of a hard guy to warm up to. But then we started looking at these players because that's when the USFL was folding and they were bringing players in. And we knew that Coach Moore was from the USFL. And so we're looking around and we see this little short guy in the chow line, and we're like, man, I wonder what position that little guy plays. You know, he must be a running back or something. You know, he's just too small. And so then the next day we go over to our locker and we see him, and he's got a black jersey on. And we're like, man, he's too thick to be a DB. He's a linebacker? Oh, my God, he's going to get killed. He's going to get killed. So we go out, and this is the old days where you used to hit all the time, right? You lined up and you hit. There was no pads. We had full pads for everyday practice. But so the first time, you know, when we go one-on-ones, and sometimes you end up with linebackers and defensive linemen in there, and it's just luck of the draw, whoever lines up. So it looked like this little short guy was going to work against me when I came around in the line for the second time. And I said to somebody, whoever was behind me, I go, I'm going to show this guy what it's like, you know, being in the NFL. And so I came off the ball, and Sam hit me right underneath the chin, stood me up, and threw me on the ground, you know, like a rag doll. And I hop up, and, you know, some of my teammates are like, whoa, what's going on? I must have stepped wrong, or I twisted my ankle, or something must have happened. So the next time I came around in the line, I made sure that I was going to go against Sam. And this time I concentrated on it, and I was going to get him again. And I came off with the best technique that I had, and he put his helmet right underneath my chin, stood me up, threw me on the ground, and stood there in the hole. And I got up and dusted my pride off and go, well, I think that guy's got a chance to make it, you know. And then everybody's laughing at me, and so that's my Sam Mills story. But we were very lucky to have him on our team, and he did more than just play that linebacker position. He was a team leader, you know, on and off the field, and taught a lot of us how to prepare and go about playing the game.
Another 7-season guy and the first member of the Dome Patrol to make an appearance, Pat Swilling.
Hey, man. I call him the field general. You know, Ricky Jackson was the guy who, when the hammer had to come down, he was the guy that brought the hammer down. Sam Mills was the everyday student of the game he used to holler, "Sack man." He called me Sack man all the time. Here he comes, Sack man. They coming right. Guards leaning. He likes Sack man. Here he come. And lo and behold, quarterback be looking at Sam, and he run the play. And here they come. Sam Mills was a coach on the field. Sam Mills was a wonderful person. Man, I tell you the truth. When I think about Sam, man, I get choked up because of just who he was. Man, a student of the game, hardworking guy, family guy. Let me tell you something, man. I've never seen a guy that loved football any more than Sam did. He was great, but man, he loved the game. Just loved the game.
Gotcha.
And he played that way. Just played that way.
That's awesome.
You know, not the most gifted guy. 5'9", 5'8", 5'7", 225 pounds. Hell, when I first seen him, I looked at him, I thought to myself, damn, is he a running back or something? That's what I thought. You know, I'm standing 6'4". I'm young, I'm brash, I'm thinking my shit don't, all those kind of, I'm looking at him like, he's really an inside linebacker. But, man, when he strapped it up and he would knock your dick in the dirt, man, he was something special.
8 seasons side by side, shoulder to shoulder in the Dome Patrol, fellow inside linebacker, Vaughn Johnson.
Well, to me, he was more like a big brother. He was and a great friend. I mean, a lot of people talk about his football playing, and that's kind of obvious, but he was a better man than he was a football player. Class act, really cared about the other person. His humility was unprecedented. I tell you, he do anything to help you. And, considering we played the same position, played side by side, but before that happened, we were competitors trying to make the team when we first met. And think about it, he was far advanced in the defense than I was because he played in Jim Moore's system in the USFL. But any questions I had, any problems I had, he never had a problem with helping and telling you things to make you better, even though we were fighting for the same job. So that just goes to show you what type of person he was. Tremendous man. Excellent football player, but a tremendous man. Great friend. Well, the thing about Sam was, the fans in New Orleans used to call him field mouse. And, he would take that, but that wasn't his favorite comment about it. And Sam and I, after the game, in New Orleans to get some dinner. So we go in there, we walk in the door, and one of the fans, this place is packed, man. I mean, it's packed. We walk in the store, and one of the fans stand up and holler, "Field Mouse!" Oh, it was hilarious, man. It was like, oh, man, no. The whole restaurant looked, and of course he's on the autograph signing now. And even though it wasn't his favorite thing, handed it was flashed, signed the autograph, smiled, took pictures, and I never let him forget it, man. And I said, "Field Mouse!" It was like, oh, that was just so hilarious. But I have tons of them, man. He was a great guy. Like I said, he's class guy, humility, excellent man.
Believe it or not, we're still going up. We got 9 seasons now, and this is a combination of time in New Orleans now and then a little bit of time in Carolina as well. 9 seasons, Toy Cook.
Whenever you would see Sam, we would always, I'd always be like, Sammy, like Sammy Davis, and his nickname for me was, all I know. Because I would say, all I know. And, all I know, he would say, his other one was, Stanford my ass was his favorite. Right? Because one time we were in a special teams meeting, and Joe Marciano was asking the personal protectors one question on this one formation that no one could answer. So he finally gets to me, and I think I was like sleeping, right? And I said something, and Joe, whatever the wrong answer, and Joe was like, wrong, Stanford my ass. And then from that point on to Sammy, I was Stanford my ass. And that was, I remember when they did the statue of him in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. I was there. I mean, I was like, Sammy, who gets a statue while they're still playing?
True.
I mean, who gets? I mean, Kareem took Kareem forever to get a statue here, right? And that just goes to show you what kind of person Sam Mills was. His background. I mean, you want to talk about hard work and want to. He's the epitome of want to. Look, everyone has some kind of disability when it comes to playing sports, unless you're, Michael Jordan or Kobe or LeBron.
Right.
Right. I go, being small in size, he ain't the only guy. But I don't know a lot of people that taught high school why they were trying to be a football player. And I'm not talking about, PE. Right. I think he was like a teacher.
Right.
Right? I mean, and when he was trying to make the USFL, the jobs that he was doing, I mean, it's an unbelievable story.
And before I say the last guy, which is 10 seasons, if you can guess who it is, don't cheat. Throw it down in the comments before you see it. 8 seasons he spent with Sam Mills in New Orleans, 2 more seasons in Carolina. Fellow defender, Brett Maxey.
Sam, genuine teammates that I've ever played with. One of the brightest and accomplished a lot for, you know, in terms of the, you know, his stature and playing that position. Probably the best player, pound for pound, that I've ever played with. Wow. And because for what he did, for the type of player he was, from a physical standpoint, from a stature and physical standpoint, it was incredible. He's the consummate football player. Is what he was. I remember when I thought about going into coaching, because he was there at that same Super Bowl, because we were playing in a golf tournament. He and I understand he was in the hotel a couple of rooms down the hall, and he and I was talking in my room, and we were talking about, you know, our careers beyond, you know, after football, because we retired the same year. And I told him what my thoughts was. I said, I'm going into coaching. What about you? He said, I don't want to coach. He said, I got this insurance thing that I got going that I'm thinking about. I think that's what I'm going to do. So he was going to sell insurance. Well, that same year, once I got hired in Carolina for the Panthers, with the Panthers, Sam ended up being a part of the organization, but not in coaching. He started out in the personnel department. So he thought about it, and he said, you know what? I think I need to, you know, stay in football. And I think that's really what he wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But something, you know, steered him away from, you know, getting away from football. I think he just wanted to get away from it for a while. And then we talked during the Super Bowl, not just that one time, but we just kept talking about it, and I just kept bringing it up. And the next thing I know, you know, a couple of months later, we're both working for the same organization, but we're just working in 2 different, you know, departments. I'm on the coaching side, and he was working in the personnel side. And then eventually he came over to the coaching side. You're talking about a great individual, though, man. Good grief. Yeah.
Really appreciate every one of you guys sticking it out. Let me know which one of the stories or summaries of who Sam Mills was, which one did you enjoy the most? Throw that in the comments. I'm really curious, you know, which one you enjoyed the most. In any event, I really appreciate it again, sticking it out. Who dat to you, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.